Straightened past the quarter pole. Top of the stretch, 3/4. 1 minute 13.57 seconds. Against the rail, it's Midnight Bourbon. Midnight Bourbon leads them into the final furlong. Leads by 3. Mandaloon and Proxy, they battle it out. It's still Midnight Bourbon. Past the 16th. Midnight Bourbon, Proxy, Mandaloon, Gamely. Here it is for Midnight Bourbon. Wins the Lecomte, holds Proxy and Mandaloon.
Welcome back to another Kentucky Derby profile here on the Racing Rundown. I'm Eric DeCoster. In this edition, we will be profiling Midnight Bourbon, the second string from the Steve Asmussen barn, as he has the Arkansas Derby winner Superstock as well. But Midnight Bourbon, not a bad second stringer at all. One of the most consistent horses in the field. 7 starts, 7 in the money finishes. He's just a hard trier for sure. We'll talk about it why right now. Second in the Louisiana Derby last time, beaten 2 lengths by Hot Rod Charlie, the Californian. Sat right off of Hot Rod Charlie, just kind of followed him around the entire way. Hot Rod Charlie certainly had the tactical advantage in that race, which certainly set him apart. But Midnight Bourbon fought really hard. I mean, he was right there the entire way. Unfortunately, just kind of got out finished at the end of the day. Same thing happened 2 starts ago in the Risman Star. Sat the same similar trip, sitting right off the pace, slow pace I might add. Looked like coming off the turn, he was going to have a chance, and then just kind of flattened out at the end and was beaten just about 2 lengths in third by Mandaloon, who, of course, in the Derby this year, we'll have a preview on him as well. 3 starts ago, we'll just go through all 3 of his races this year real quick. Won the Lecomte, went wire to wire that day, going a mile and 16th, carved out super easy fractions. The race went exactly as one would have drawn it up, as that race was, devoid of any early speed, and he was able to take advantage of that and go wire to wire with that bunch. Wasn't able to work out that trip in either the Louisiana Derby or the Risen Star, and not something he'd be able to work out in this year's Derby. But you got to admire the consistency. As I mentioned, never out of the money. He was twice graded stakes placed, even once grade 1 placed at 2 as well. So he runs really good races every time. He just doesn't seem to like to win them. Because the Lecomte was given to him, and he certainly has had a hard time passing horses. I will definitely say that. As you watch those Louisiana Derbies and Risen Stars, he's half length, neck away from really putting himself in front as they come into the stretch, and then he just kind of flattens out. He really just kind of hangs as they come down the lane, and we saw that kind of in the Iroquois where he came off the turn with the lead but got mowed down last September at Churchill Downs, and then the Champagne. I mean, he was racing against 2 very talented 2-year-olds that day, so you can't really fault him too much for that performance. But the point is, he doesn't really seem to like to pass horses. You look at the past performance lines, even if you look at past performances, understand how they work, the numbers are really the same from first call to that's all. It's lots of 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1, 1, so on and so forth. He just seems to idle. He seems to put himself in the race where he wants to be, and then that's where he stays. But I'm not saying that because I think he's a bad horse or he's an average horse. He's a good horse. He's shown that before. He's ran really good races nearly every start he's made. But he just doesn't really seem to have that will to win. And that's kind of evident when you watch the races as he is hanging down the stretch, not really trying to get by anybody. And you can see it in the past performance lines with those consistent numbers throughout the race. So, and even if you look at the comments, you see a lot of outfinished, weakened late, stuff like that, which isn't the second best. I think it's kind of also been something better. And it's never like a horse has worked out or a jockey's worked out a better trip than him. He's always sat a perfect trip. He has never once had the race setup, other than maybe his debut, other than that start. He has never had a race not go his way. Every single race has set up perfectly for him, and he's yet to actually finish it. So that's just kind of the big thing with him. I don't know how much of the potential of him maybe hitting the board is either, because there's a lot of horses in the Kentucky Derby, and you could say a lot of horses hit the board, fill out some of those trifectas and supers and stuff like that. You can make that case for so many horses, and a lot of horses are going to be trying to sit. That's another thing. A lot of horses are going to be trying to sit the trip Midnight Bourbon wants to sit. Now, given he's ran 6-7 races and 6 of them have gone exactly how he wanted them to, I think, just with his racing luck, it seems like he'd be able to find himself in the right position. But even then, there's a lot of horses that I very well could see out finishing him in the Derby this year. It just makes a lot of sense. And kind of, once again, going back to the hanging, that's kind of the big thing with hanging down the stretch, not really finishing all that strong. I don't know if it's a distance thing. He has 3 siblings who are all graded stakes winners, but they've all been at a mile and a 16th and a mile and an eighth. Well, his last 2 races have been at a mile and an eighth and a mile and 3/16ths, and that's really where we've kind of seen that those chinks in the armor kind of come out when they get to the nitty gritty and the finish line. So I've said it. I spent about 5 minutes now just talking about that. Let's talk about Mike Smith, the rider. Picks him up, hasn't ridden him in his career yet, but we know Mike Smith, of course. He's won 2 derbies, one of the best riders in American racing history. He'll be able to work out the trip he wants to work out, but is he on a good enough horse to really make an impact? I don't know. I hold this horse in such high regard. He is physically an incredibly good-looking specimen. He runs to his looks every time, which is really good, but never enough. And I think that's kind of the big thing with him is he just never is putting forth enough. And I don't know if certainly nothing he's shown me in his past races is enough to put him over the finish line first in the Kentucky Derby. That's of course just my opinion in terms of that, but there is no denying he runs he hangs in the stretch. There's no denying that. There's no denying he does not really seem to like to pass horses. There's no denying that. In my opinion, I don't love that for the Derby, but of course you can look at it however you would like to look at it. And maybe you do like him to think he can stick around and run that consistent race throughout, sit a good 3rd or 4th, and then hold that position the entire way and finish 3rd or 4th. Nevertheless, of course, we never know the answer until the race is actually run. That's when those questions will get answered. And for now, it's just opinions, and you know what they say about opinions and some other things. Everybody has one. So that's all I have for you guys on this profile for the Kentucky Derby, and we will see you next time here on the Racing Rundown for more Derby coverage.